Hi, welcome. Hi, everyone. Make sure
Hello.
to take a second that you can see me, you can hear me. Good to see so many of you. Happy Thursday. All right, let's get
Huh?
started.
Hey. No, I'm on a Zoom.
Okay. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. This is our first event in the Exploring Ithaca Signature Event Series. Tonight, we have a virtual panel with local Black business owners. My name is Samali Biari, she, her pronouns, and I'm the Bold Program Director at Ithaca College. I'm also chairing this Exploring Ithaca committee, which is part of the SACL Signature Event Series for the fall semester. I have a really quick couple of housekeeping items before we jump in. First, you'll notice that this event is being recorded and it will be available online after the event. Next, if you're able to safely and comfortably do so, it would be great if we could all engage with our videos on. We also encourage you to feel free to unmute yourself during our question and answer portion. If you're not able to engage with your video or audio, we completely understand that, and we want you to do what's best for you. Please feel free to use the chat feature, either the public chat or to me privately if you'd like to contribute in any way. If you are a student registered for this event for SLI credits, we'll be sharing the names of participants with the Office of Student Engagement after the event to make sure that you receive credit for attendance. Just as a reminder, in order to receive SLI credit, you must stay on the event for the entirety of the time we're together today. So our goals for the Exploring Ithaca initiative when we got started, our hopes are to increase education and awareness of all the amazing things that Ithaca has to offer. We hope to encourage investment in the local Ithaca businesses. And lastly, we hope to build long-lasting relationships between Ithaca College and the local community by connecting our Ithaca College faculty, staff, and students with the local Ithaca community. As part of this series, we'll be hosting several panels with local business owners and curating an engaging Instagram platform. I'd encourage you all to check it out and follow if you haven't done so already. It's Exploring Ithaca. All of that leads up to a weekend of specials and promotions from October 23rd through 25th of this year. Before we get started and introduce our panelists, I just want to share a couple of links in the chat. The first one is to our website, which highlights our upcoming events, as well as a list of all the promotions that will be available during the weekend of October 23rd. I encourage you to check that out now and start to kind of think about the ones you might be interested in, but to keep checking it out throughout the leading up to that time as well, because more businesses are joining us every day. The second link, so for any students that are here tonight, I encourage you to just take 2 seconds and put in your name and Ithaca email address into that second link there. You will be entered into a raffle to win an incredible prize tonight. We have 4 gift certificates that we'll be offering. One is a $25 gift certificate to Tamarind, a $25 gift certificate to Taste of Thai, a $25 gift certificate to the Ithaca Ale House, and last is a month-long TCAP pass. If you're not in the Ithaca area right now, no worries. You can just activate that when you're back in the Ithaca area, and it's good for 1 month of riding. Thank you so much to the local businesses who donated those prizes and ones for our future panels for this series. Okay, let's get started. I'm so excited that you've all joined us tonight for what I'm sure will be an interesting and engaging conversation with our panelists. Tonight we welcome 3 panelists, including Veron, owner of Mane and Wigs, Christa, owner of the Learning Farm Juicery, and Mercedes, owner of Red Metal Jewelry. I'll have a series of questions for you all tonight, and then we'll open it up for question and answer for any of our attendees. And thank you to a couple people submitted questions ahead of time as well, so I'll incorporate those in. So at this time, I'd like you all to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business. We'll start with Veron and then go to Christa and Mercedes.
Hi, my name is Veron Raymond, and my name of my business is Mane and Wigs, a beauty supply store. I have products such as wigs, extensions, and shampoos, gels, styling gels, just about anything that has to do with beauty products I have. And when I'm not at the store working, I work as a nurse at Cayuga Medical Center in the emergency room. That's it.
Thanks so much, Veron. Christa.
Hi, I'm Christa Nunez, and I own the Learning Farm, which is part of a company called Planet Kittison. We provide outdoor education, natural world learning supports for children and families, as well as a juice line of organic fruit and vegetable juices. And we're developing a honey product as well as a bento box for kids. So a number of products and services mainly oriented around children and their education and health.
Thank you, Christa.
Yeah.
And Mercedes.
I'm Mercedes Redmoon. I'm the designer and owner at Red Metal Jewelry. I create and sell jewelry that is made out of copper and brass, which are red metals in the terminology. I've been doing that for about, I want to say 12 or 15 years now, and I've been in Ithaca for about 10 years now.
Thanks, Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for our other questions tonight, any one of you can feel free to jump in and share when you feel compelled, but it doesn't have to be in that same order every time. So can you all share a little bit about what inspired you to start your business?
Sure, I'll go first. I was inspired mainly. I have a media firm, and I started in business with a media company helping small and medium-sized businesses with their marketing, and then got kind of burnt out, but needed the income still. So we hung on to that, but expanded into my passion, which is early childhood education. And after I had my kids, realized that sort of brick and mortar schools were lacking in some of the ways that they made education fun and inviting for kids. I have 3 kids who are really great at school, but they also are very kinetic learners. They love to be outside. They love to be learning experientially and with their hands. And I know that a lot of their friends have the same interest in wanting to really get into things as more of a practice in terms of like getting their hands dirty and learning science through the natural world. And so we thought, wouldn't it be fun to start an educational platform and also develop products to really make learning and nutrition enjoyable for kids?
I'll go, sure. So, inspiration for my business, yes. I started making jewelry with components from like Michael's and AC Moore and all the craft stores in my early 20s, and I had like a little table in my bedroom, and I would make necklaces and earrings for myself, and I would wear them all the time, and people would compliment me and ask, oh my God, where'd you get that? Or, you know, where can I get those? I'm like, oh, well, I made these. I can make you some too. Yes. And that's kind of how it snowballed from there. So it just started as like an artistic passion and kind of like grew on its own.
So for me, what inspired me, I moved to the area just little under 2 years. And when I got here, I realized that there wasn't any beauty supply store in this immediate area that serve minorities, because we have different textures of hair and stuff, and there wasn't anything. So as a nurse, I was a little bit nervous. I know all about nursing, great at it, but I did not know how to start a business, what to do, but I just thought about that there's a big need and all that people need. So I just went for it. And I still think that I'm braver than what I thought, actually. And I just went for it and just started. And with the help of the customers' suggestions and the community, I'm up and running.
Thank you all. I love hearing how each of you has a really personal connection to the inspiration that led to you starting your own business. But passion and all of the hard work and love in the world doesn't mean that that's without challenges. Can you each share a little bit about what challenges or unexpected barriers you might have encountered in getting your business up and running?
I could go. So I initially started out with a business plan that I presented to the bank, but they didn't really understand what I meant to say that there wasn't any real care products for minorities. So it was a little bit confusing to them. And I just went there once, talked to them about it, realized that they couldn't really interpret what I'm saying. So I just left, not disappointed, but just came up with a different plan. And the plan that I came up with, I used all my own money that I owned to start my business. So this way, I didn't have to explain how I'm gonna turn around the money that I borrowed from someone and make a profit so I could pay them back. And again, that was brave of me to do. So I did it.
So definitely a big risk involved with getting your business started.
Yes.
I think along those lines, I remember moving here from California and wanting to change our bank accounts, and going into a local bank here with my little folio of, all of our IEN numbers and our IRS documentation and all of the documents that we needed to open up. And I remember being stopped at there's like a little desk when you first walk into this one bank, and this person there said, well, and I said I wanted to open up a business account, and she said, well, you need to bring back an officer of your organization. And I said, I'm here. And she said, well, I think you need to bring back a leader at your organization. And I said, I'm here. This is me. And she said, oh, I thought you were the secretary. And I tell that story sometimes, and people look at me in disbelief and like, really, that happened? And I was like, yeah, in this day and age, that kind of stuff still happens, where people assume that women and Black women don't really belong in a business setting. And I say that to encourage any women and young ladies who are interested in starting a business, that there will be obstacles, and there'll be assumptions that you don't belong, but that doesn't mean that you don't belong. It means that some people think that you don't belong, which really in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter. So, the key is to keep pushing. And I have to say that after that experience, I did talk to a manager there, and that person has received more training. And I think there is always a positive if you keep pushing, and if you kind of let people know where they're, when they're in error, you can help folks kind of get out of different strange thinking that might be inhibiting them in their work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that, Christa.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I would say that some of the challenges that I faced, because my business is fairly new. It's been a year since I've gotten a business account and all of those things that really solidify it being a business on its own 2 feet. And some of the hardest things I had to struggle with was just knowing where to start. I had all this product and I had all of this ambition, and I didn't know where to go with it. So, it's very daunting, especially when you're doing it by yourself, being the sole proprietor of my business. It's just me. So I need to figure out, okay, how do I get an EIN number? Where do I go for that? How do I open up an account? What do I need for that? And I actually found a good resource. Alternatives Federal Credit Union was very helpful with my process, and they were able to help me get my business account opened and a line of credit for my business, and it's been very helpful for me. So, I think I would say that it can be very challenging and daunting, but for anyone who is trying to start a business, there are resources out there for you.
That's a great tip, Mercedes, because I know that we have some students in here who are business majors and possibly some entrepreneurs as well throughout this group, and people that might be looking locally to see what they could do to start a business.
Yeah, I would definitely point them in that direction. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So the flip side of the challenges is that the rewarding aspects. Can you tell us a little bit about what you find most rewarding from your business and being a business owner?
I'll go. So what makes me really happy when people walk into a store and they looking for a certain product and they can get it, or they get what they need and more. And I use the time to talk to people and get to know people in the community, and also to encourage other people, especially the younger um, folks that are thinking of starting a business. And and I encourage them to come back and talk to me when they're ready, and I'll point them in the right direction. So it's just like the collaboration and getting to know the community. I just love that.
Well, I would say waking up and doing what I love is an amazing feeling. There are days when it's hard, of course, but there is such a satisfaction with knowing that making jewelry is a form of art for me. And, when people buy it, they're purchasing art for me, and it somehow makes them feel a certain way when they wear it, or they engage with it, or it reminds them of somebody. And that's a really powerful statement, I think. So it's really just amazing to be able to say that I can do that, because not everybody gets that chance.
For me, it's like a couple of calls I got recently from parents who send their kids to our outdoor school that we kind of pivoted to do more supports for kids that, whose parents weren't ready to send them back to school, and school was kind of delayed by a few weeks. And parents who call in tears saying, thank you so much. My kid was pulling their hair out with this all distance learning thing, and they don't do well with screens, and it's been really hard, but you having this program's really been helpful to me. I've been able to get work done. And also my kid comes home happy and having played outside. And for me, it's really about helping people and help kids to be happy at a time, especially like this, where it can be really stressful even to the littlest among us. So that's where I get my joy.
Yeah, thanks, Christa. That kind of leads into our next question, which is around the pandemic that we've all been experiencing since earlier this year, which really, I think started to impact the Ithaca area in March, and the way that that has shaped our lives in so many ways. Can you all talk about how the COVID-19 pandemic has maybe impacted your business, or how you've had to adapt your business in this COVID-19 environment?
Yeah, we had to pivot hard. We normally have a summer program, and at the point in March and April where we'd normally be planning and hiring teachers and things like that, we were like, there's no way we're going to have 57 kids here this summer. And so we canceled summer program. We changed to a kit program, and we packaged up science, like STEAM activities into weekly packages, and we would deliver them to people's homes, and they did all this wonderful science at home. And then we started the outdoor school once we realized school wasn't going to be in as normal. And so we realized, parents are going to need some extra support. And so we changed pretty much everything about our educational programming because of COVID. And, we were very nervous because our part of our business is about bringing kids together into groups to learn. And if we can't really do that safely, it would have affected us really, really profoundly, but we realized that the outdoors is the perfect place to be in a pandemic where droplets in indoor areas can be contagious more so indoors. And so utilizing the outdoor space and, you know, kids being able to run and maintain 6 feet of distance and, you know, have mask breaks as long as everybody's apart and then put the mask back on. And it's been working really well.
Glad to hear that. It's a creative shift, and it is a challenging pivot, but I'm happy to hear that you've made some, really creative, implementations.
Thanks. Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
go ahead, Veron. You go
I
ahead.
started out by just taking like appointments initially. So like one shopper at a time, and then slowly ease into reduce hours. And right now what we're doing is just follow all the necessary precautions to keep everyone safe. But it does had a big impact because a lot of people were scared to come out and shop, and some people didn't have jobs, so they weren't going to work, so they didn't need the products. But it's slowly picking up now.
I've had a lot of change in the way that some of my accounts operate. So I have some wholesale accounts in the US Virgin Islands in shops there. And normally what I do is I go and I fly down there over the winter, and I take my product with me, and I reconnect with these business owners and sell them the product, and then try to land new wholesale accounts at other establishments in the area. And I wasn't able to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that this coming winter because of the restrictions that are going on in the US Virgin Islands right now. So I've actually had to switch to a lot of just mailing the product and not necessarily being there to talk about the product and to have that relationship with the business owner. So it kind of makes it a little bit more stressful for me in a way, because it's like sending something blind. I like to be able to really talk with people about things when they purchase them. So sending a collection through the mail can be stressful. Just in the fact of mailing something, valuable can be stressful, but it's definitely been an adjustment. We're taking notes. We are, recalibrating. Things are going to be fine.
Yes.
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 It sounds like that relationship that you have with those store owners there is I'd imagine like such a really important relationship that you've cultivated, and it sounds like you'll hope to get back there as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe to do so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I would love to hear from each of you. Why do you, or what you can share with our attendees today, what makes your business special, or why should people shop at your business?
Oh.
I think it's unique to, I think first of all, a lot of juice products on the market right now have added sugar. And so I think we stand out because we don't add any sugar. And the fact that we add vegetable nutrients to a juice product is unique. I don't see a lot of that out there. And it's still really tasty, even though it has beets in it. And people go, oh, beets, I hate beets. And then they taste it and it's like, oh, it's really good. So I feel like that sort of helps us stand out. And I think also the more people realize that kids want to be outside and you can still learn a lot outside, it's kind of contrary to what we've been taught about school. You have to be sitting at a desk and 4 walls around you. I think that more and more people are kind of getting hip to the fact that you can learn anywhere, and if you can actually be in fresh air, you can actually probably learn a lot more because you're happier and can retain more because your brain's happier. So those are the two things that come to mind with that.
So what make my business unique, because I am the only business of this kind that has this large variety of products that cater to Black women, men, and children, and others also. And I take pride in how I keep my store neat and tidy. And I also take pride in the customers' service that I provide. When someone comes into a store, it's just not like another customer, like to buy something. I take the time out to talk to them and get to know them. I talk a lot, so sometimes I feel like I talk too much, but I just want to connect with people. I want them to feel like this is somewhere you could stop if you're not feeling well. You want to sit down and take a little rest, and people do that. They come in, can I have a seat? Yes. Just looking for someone to talk to. People generally sometimes stop by to talk to me, and I have no issues with it because it's very inviting in my place.
That's really special. It sounds like, you know, you have a positive relationship with your customers and you build those lifelong relationships even.
Yes, I do.
Now, I will say this, I have been into Mane and Wigs and I have shopped there, and all of that is true.
Yes, okay.
All of it. It's amazing.
Verified customer.
Verified customer, very happy. Look at the hair. I would say that like what makes my business unique, there are lots of components to it, but the biggest thing is that all of my pieces are handmade. I'm the only person in my business, so every piece of jewelry that gets posted on my website or is shown at handwork has been physically handmade by myself, and I have taken the time out to create, to design and create that piece. So, you know, each piece is a little bit different and they have their own organic feel to them. You know, I could make the same design 3 times and they each are the same, but they're all different at the same time. So you're getting something that is entirely unique, and I think it just really speaks to my personality, and I like that to come through in my work. So
that's amazing to be able to have a piece of jewelry that you know is truly one of a kind and not something that, you know, thousands of other people in the world have the same exact piece.
right.
Thank you all. So we have several students on our call tonight. Obviously, there's Ithaca College in the community, and we have Cornell University as well. It's not the biggest college town in the world, but we do have a college town atmosphere, especially during the, you know, the academic semester. Can you talk a little bit about what students mean to your business, or possibly for this semester in particularly, when Ithaca has extended remote instruction, what the absence of students has been like?
Well, there have been, oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, Mercedes.
Okay. With everything going on and the remote learning, it also stems out into certain events having been canceled around town. So I've noticed I've noticed it in the area of my business where there aren't any festivals, and a lot of the draw and a lot of the attendance for festivals are students, and that's where I would get the most of my customer base, from the student body. So not having those events, tying into remote learning, you can definitely see a difference.
For me, it's our volunteer base, and also it's the vibe that the students bring to the community. I love seeing the students around town and making this place a really lovely, warm atmosphere. And then it's hard not to have them on the farm as much. I think we've been really safe and really taking a lot of precautions and not having groups, large groups of volunteers coming out. And that's really been hard because I feel like part of the farm is the community of volunteers and people who want to be there helping out on the land. So, doing everything by a Zoom call and chatting about different projects from a distance has been really hard.
Yeah, we feel that.
So I definitely see the difference not having as much students, or even when they go on a break, the business becomes slower because they make up a larger number of their customer base. And not only my business, other businesses will see that their sales are down and not as much traffic. Even the commons seems dead oftentimes without the students. So that does make it, the student does make a difference.
They really do change the atmosphere of the community in a positive and inspiring and creative way.
Yep. It's true.
So that kind of leads into my next question then. Do you all have opportunities for students or other Ithaca College community members to get involved with your business in any way? I know, Christa, you mentioned volunteering, but any ways that folks can get involved with your business?
We invite students to come out and plant trees with us and garden with us and plant vegetables and fruits and harvest. We invite students to be a part of pretty much everything we do outdoors. We have several sort of teacher assistant positions that we've been able to hire from the student body, and also people who help with our websites and different people who have different ideas about our social media. We really invite a lot of input from both campuses. So anytime, anything that anybody would like to contribute with regard to like online or digital space or getting your fingers dirty in the soil is always welcome.
I'm always looking to employ students and based upon their schedule. So if I find a student that their schedule allows them to work, I'm willing to offer jobs. And the students, they normally come down here and help me with any electronic process that I have no clue what to do. Most of those videos that I make on my Instagram, thanks to the students that just walk in and they're willing to show me and help me with stuff. So, and I always says if someone wants to come in and know about the business, if they're working in the business aspect, it's school and they need to know more. Or I've had several students, they come down and they work on their projects that they have to do videos and stuff. And I always willing for them to do stuff. They've interviewed me a couple times and I'm always willing to do that to help them out. And I'm still here available for them.
Well, there aren't any, I don't have any projects right now that require any extra hands, so to speak. But I have been asked to, like Veron says, I also have been asked to do interviews for certain classes and things from college students, and I'm always happy to answer any questions and help out in that regard. For anybody looking for information about being an entrepreneur or anything like that.
Thank you all. That's great. So as I mentioned in the beginning, our theme for tonight was local Black business owners, and I really appreciate you all being here tonight with us. It's been already so exciting and engaging. I feel like I'm gonna go and visit all of your your businesses. And to explore that theme a little bit further, if you all could talk a little bit about what the experience of being a Black business owner has been, especially in an area like Ithaca, New York. Do you feel that there were or are any different challenges or barriers to being a business owner in this area?
For me, being Black and having a business in Ithaca does not pose any kind of problems or barriers for me because it's really diverse and Ithaca is different. It's welcoming and it's like good to everyone. And I make sure I have products in my store for everyone. So I have everyone coming in my store, not only Black folks. So it works out for me. So no problems or challenges here.
Well, I would say that the challenge is just that, like being Black and being a business owner, those two things are exponentially challenging. Especially now, the climate is awful for being Black. And owning a business can be lonely, especially if you're working on it by yourself. It can be very lonely. So just those two things compounded together, man, it can be challenging to find the drive for it sometimes. But I think my personal challenges with it have just been navigating how I feel living in this country right now and still having the passion for what I do.
Thank you.
I think for me, it's been such a welcoming atmosphere where there's been so much support and so much just open-armed, like how can I help you from various different community members, that in a way it's jarring because we're in this like bubble. I feel like sometimes Ithaca's this lovely bubble of, progressive thought and, a lot of really folks who are devoted to equitable and inclusive ways of going about things. But, our farm is on the outskirts of Ithaca, and we're kind of in this weird boundary where I have people who like throw trash on my land, like deliberately come and throw trash on my land, or leave a bunch of like gun shells, around my property, and like different people flying Trump signs. And not to get political, but it can be really jarring sometimes to sort of go from this very loving atmosphere to like, oh, okay, I realized that we're actually in a bubble and I'm on the outskirts of this bubble. And I do see a lot of Black Lives Matter signs around in the hills and the countryside, and it's really encouraging. Like, okay, people really do care and want to be vocal about the fact that there are serious problems in this country, and that even though there's folks that live in the country here, I think it's great that they're making clear that they're not about hatred. But I think it's sort of like this really deep divide between folks who do understand how fraught and dangerous the experience is for Black people in this country, in this area, anywhere here in America, and also people who just really want to deny that it's a fact and that it's, there's a historical and a current basis for it. So you just never know what you're going to get, I think, is sort of been my experience sometimes.
Yeah, thank you all so much for sharing that. And Christa, I'm sorry to hear that that's an experience that you've had while, here in Ithaca. There's actually a student that submitted a question that I think ties in really well with this conversation, so I'll ask it now. And the student's here, so feel free to identify yourself if you'd like to, but I will ask it anonymously in case that's how you prefer. So the student said, being that as you are a business owner, specifically Black business owners, how did you create space for yourself in a profession that lacks diversity? And maybe along those lines, like how do you practice self-care?
Great question.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say you gotta get in where you fit in. When it comes to working in industries or environments where there isn't a space, you gotta make that space. you got to fight for your space. You got to fight for your right to have a space in an environment that keeps telling you no. And that can be very hard. So, you know, what do I do? Like, what do you do? Like, what do you do for self-care? What do you do to protect yourself against that? I just try to remind myself of like why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because all I want to do is make jewelry. It's what I'm passionate about. It's what I care about. You know, it's how I connect to people. So that's why it's important to move forward. So, you know, that being said, it's really important to take time for yourself, especially owning a business. You gotta, you know, whatever your self-care looks like, if it's a bubble bath, if it's reading a book, if it's going for a walk, if it's, you know, just 10 minutes of not having to make a decision, you know, you gotta do it.
Thank you, Mercedes.
For me, it's about really surrounding myself with people who love me and whom I love. I'm lucky to have, you know, my family here, and I have a great friend from just happens to live here who I went to high school and college with in Michigan, and met some really solid people here. And so I think, you know, having socially distanced hikes and walks and having people come over and, you know, meeting people in town and still maintaining strong friendships has been, it's been really encouraging, because, you know, like Mercedes says, it can be lonely, you know, working long hours, and I find myself teaching and then doing the other side of the business, and then you know, running the nonprofit side, and it can be just a lot of work that only I can do. And if you don't balance that with a lot of loving care from people who care about you, it can be challenging.
So for me, I like Mercedes says again, like it can be lonely and you got to fight for your space. And initially when I started, I realized, oh, it's really lonely. I'm here. I'm not sure what to do, how to do it. How do I feel? But I just slowly started just talk to other business owners. Like all the businesses around me, I think they know me by name now, and I could go in and talk to them, and we kind of like bounce back in each other and check in sometimes to see like how's your day going. And sometimes someone is happy to say, all right, I'm not the only one that's feeling how you're feeling right now. So that does help. And again, and when I don't have customers, I try to take time to reflect on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and I'm passionate about it, and I'm confident about it. So that helps me.
Thank you all. And we had another question from a student just submitted, and I'll read that as well. But again, feel free to identify yourself if you'd like to and join this conversation. The student asked, what risks do you face being a Black entrepreneur, and do you feel trifled by other members of the community?
I think the risks are inherent to business ownership. I mean, it's a financial risk. It's a you know, reputation risk. You know, I felt really keenly the danger of starting something that could potentially not work or not be popular or go under at some point. And I was fearful about like the success, like being successful, and then you know, realizing like it doesn't matter what other people think of you. If you are helping people, if you're serving a need, if your services are actually helpful to somebody, you don't have to be for everybody, but if you're helpful to, you know, enough people that could be sustaining, I think that's all that matters. And really focusing on the quality of the service and the product helped me kind of get through the idea of the risk. the risk, the rewards are much higher than the risks if you sort of look at it that way.
Thanks, Christa.
So, Krista, like you, initially I worry about financial risk, and I still worry about that. That's always going to be hanging over our heads to say if our business not successful and cave under. The good thing about it, I own no one, so I don't worry too much, but that's all my money that would go down the drain. But again, I'm not too worried about the risk because I pull my audience, my customers, when they come in, I talk to them. I try to find out what is it that they'd like to see in the store. I normally like to say, I own the store, but this is your store. I will sell what you want to buy, not what I want to sell. So, and I find when I take on that philosophy and I start to just get all the products that the customer keeps saying, all right, you should have this, you should have that. And I see where it's working out really better for me versus initially when I just started, wish I had no clue what to buy. I just bought stuff that I like. So that did not work too good. So now, yeah, so it still leads back to financial risk. Like, okay, am I gonna get enough customers to pay the bill and save some money?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's financial. You said it, ladies. Financial risk. That's it. You know, and it is something that like you will always worry about when you own a business, and you just have to, you know, keep your head about you when it comes to that sort of thing. And you know, for me, the risk is irrelevant because at the end of the day, whether or not I own a business, I'm still an artist. I'm still going to make art, and that's really what I'm doing. So, you know, God forbid, and God forbid, something happens and my business just goes poof, right? I'm still gonna wake up and make art. So the risk is kind of small to me in that regard.
I love that, Mercedes. I am conscious of time, and I definitely want to get a chance to open it up for question and answer from some of our audience members. And I see we have one in the chat here from Kanyalani to Veron. Do you have close relationships with any hairdressers in the area?
Not really, but I did my research and try to see who I could recommend my customers to, because the customers will come in and they'll get the products and then they have nowhere to go to get the services. So I have to kind of collaborate with a few people, and then I get feedback from the customers in regards to the services that the people are providing. And if I have too many negative feedback, I refrain from referring the customers to those people. So, but I have quite a few people that I can refer the customers to, hairdressers and barbers.
Thank you. Any other questions that anyone here tonight wants to ask one of our business owners? Feel free to unmute yourselves and join the conversation or send it in the chat.
Sam, I have a question.
Oops. Go ahead, Christa.
No, I wanted to make sure I could ask a question too.
Yeah.
But I'll let everybody else go first, and thank you.
The question was actually for you, so that's funny that you wanted to ask a question just when I was about to ask.
Okay.
I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and during the summer we were also trying to get them involved in activities, but it was really hard to. I mean, they wanted to be outside, but it was hard to find something they would be interested in, and then it was also hard to find the balance between not forcing them, but encouraging them to be doing the activities outside. So what kind of strategies have you found that work best to encourage children to be outside?
The strategy there's a few. It's a great question. But the strategy I really like most is letting it be self-directed. So whatever they're interested in. So we have the benefit of having 2 waterfalls at the farm. And so we have a forest, and then there's a creek, and there's a couple of really beautiful waterfalls. And a lot of the kids, are curious about, like, can I touch the water in the waterfall? Am I allowed to get under the waterfall? And in the hot months, it's like, yeah, you can get under it. And, allowing them to explore the environment in the ways that they're curious about, and not putting any false barriers. I think a lot of times parents, when you're in a natural environment, if folks aren't used to it, can kind of go, don't touch that, be careful, and create this sort of scary sense, or like a nervous sense when it comes to being outside. And for us, it's like, this is where you're supposed to be. Anything you want to see, touch, we'll tell you where the poison ivy is, and we'll tell you where there might be a wasp or a bee, just to kind of be mindful. But like, anything is open for you to touch and see and hear and feel, and whatever you're into we'll support it. And I think when the kids can decide what they want to do, the more they feel comfortable, and the more it becomes normal and in a place of relaxation for them.
That's great, thanks. I did notice that in my nieces as well, that they tended to not want to do some things because my sister was scared of them, and then we thought it was bad. But thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Christa.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yes, I will have the question for both Veron and Mercedes, actually. Veron, I'm wondering if you have any natural hair care products, because a number of years ago, I stopped perming and I stopped putting heat on, and really trying to embrace my natural curl. And I would love to be able to shop at your place. And I'm wondering if you have any natural hair care products that sort of use natural ingredients.
Yes, and yes, and yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, you'll be seeing me. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. And then Mercedes, do you know where your metals come from, like in the world? Do you, I'm curious about the red metals. Do they come from different places in the world, or is that sort of how do you integrate any particular regions of the world into your work?
I tend to do that more with the stonework that I use as accents to the jewelry. Oh, cool. The metal itself I get from a supplier, and it's an American company it's a press that comes in these massive sheets that get cut down by the size that you want. So I go through that, and I tend to use a lot of that, and then I also buy a lot of metal locally. At some of the hardware stores, they'll have, if you know where to look, you can find all kinds of stuff. But when it comes to the stones that I use, those can be from all over the world. I've got stones from St. John. I've got stones from Argentina. Like, oh wow, it really depends on like what I'm looking for and what I can find. Cool. But that's where you'll see a lot of the different sourcing coming from for my stuff.
The stones, awesome, mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
That's a great question, Christa.
Thanks.
I see we have one more question here in the chat. And so the student Giselle said, sorry, I don't know if you're a student. Giselle says, what would you say would be the best way to start your business on Etsy and continue to grow it on Etsy? And maybe if that doesn't apply to you, I'll just make that broad, as well as what advice might you have for an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. Well, for my Etsy, Etsy is very user-friendly in the regard that it's very easy to set up, and you can post your products on the website, and the website will do this really awesome thing where it will, there's a feature where it'll collect the sales tax for you. So you just have to make sure that when you're making your deposits, that you put it in your savings account so you can pay your sales tax later. One of the things you want to make sure you have before you start this process is an EIN number, because you need to have that number in order to make any sort of sales and to collect the tax in the first place. But I would say that you want to start with the EIN so that way you have it for your records. And I would say a really good way to grow a business that might be predominantly online like mine would be social media. Social media is an amazing tool to get the word out there for your pieces, to build a following. You know, I sort of use my Instagram as like a scrapbook for all of my work. And if people go through my Instagram, they can see pieces just all over the place, you know, whether they're in construction or whether they're fully done. It's just a way for people to engage with what I'm doing. And that can really help draw business to your website. So if you have an Etsy store, or if you're thinking about an Etsy store, I would really recommend a social media presence as well to balance that out.
Any other advice, Christa or Veron, that you'd give to an entrepreneur?
So for someone that's just starting, you have to make sure whatever it is that you're thinking of doing, that there's a market for it. So you have to do the research. And you're also, it's always good to come up with a business plan. And after you start the business running, you'll see that sometimes you run into little barriers, and you have to quickly correct whatever barriers come your way. So in order for it to run smoothly, you got to constantly, sometimes even anticipate a barrier or problem that will come up that you need to fix. But just pick something that you like, market for it, have your business plan ready to go, and get all the necessary documentation to start.
I would add to that, visit your local SBA, Small Business Administration office, find a mentor, avoid debt. And, you know, sometimes the best way you learn is just to try something, and, fail forward is something that I like to think about. It's like, not everything you're going to try or do in a business is going to work, but you learn from it and you keep growing and you find the thing that does work, and you build on that.
That's all great advice. Thank you all so much. And we are past time, so we're going to start to get wrapped up here. I want to thank you three so much, Veron, Christa, and Mercedes, for sharing your experiences with us tonight. It's been really wonderful to hear your stories and advice and all of your experiences. I want to let all of our participants know about the special promotions you're all offering during the weekend of October 23rd through 25th, along with so many other businesses you can check out on our website. But specifically, Veron will be offering $10 off wigs over $60 and $50 off wigs over $100. Christa will be offering a buy one, get one deal at the farm for gift items like handmade crafts and greeting cards, honey, plants, and more. And Mercedes will be offering 15% off anything on her Etsy store with promo code ICPromo20. I'm posting this in the chat right now, but it's also on our website, on our Instagram. So please feel free to check those out. And we hope that you join us for future panels coming up in the rest of this month. Thank you all so much for your contribution, not only to this panel, but for the work that you're doing in the Ithaca community. It means so much to all of us.
Thank
I
you.
will
Thank you so much.
pass it over to Leah really quick, who's going to do our raffle of 4 students. Again, if you have to head out, we'll contact you after the event to connect with you and see how we can get you your item. But you're also welcome to stay. I know it's past 8 o'clock and y'all are busy, you have things to do. So yeah, I'll pass it over to you.
I'm sorry, we're doing like the random name generator. So
Yes.
So for the Taryn gift card, that goes to Maddie G. And then Taste of Thai is Gabrielle. Ale House is Kara. And the TCAT Pass is Kellen. Awesome. So we will reach out to you and I'll be able to have your information from the form. Congratulations. And I'll be reaching out to you tomorrow morning with all the details for that. So thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Again,
you.
thank you all so much. We hope you can join for our upcoming panels. We have one next week on Tuesday with IC alum business owners. We'll be doing one with women-owned businesses, and then a fourth panel with just other business owners in the local Ithaca area. All of them will be raffling off more gift certificates and other prizes for you to win to start participating and contributing to the local Ithaca community. Again, thank you. Have a good night. I hope you all stay well and take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
There's a
Bye-bye.
request
Thank you.
if any of the panelists are able to post their contact information in the chat.
Sure.
Thank you all. And we'll share that out with all the attendees too.
I'm not sure how to do that. I would like to.
Veron, if you do want to tell it to me and I can type it here.
You can type it. So you could, for the store number is 607
Mm-hmm.
339 0012. And
Great.
that will actually go to my cell phone. So if someone calls the store, I'll get the call directly, even if I'm not at work.
Perfect. All right. Do you have an email address you want to share?
Yes, it's info@Mane and Wigs.
Mm-hmm. Is that Gmail?
No, it's just info@maneandwigs.com.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Great. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Take
Thank
care. I hope you
you.
all do well.
Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you.
Good
Bye,
night.
ladies. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madeline.
All right, how I sign this out? Just click it off.
Yeah, I'll end the meeting now, so it should end for you as well.
Okay,
Thanks so much, Veron.
take care. Thank you.
You too. Thanks.
Yeah.